For you, call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome, and thanks very much for joining us on another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today. In the studio, Mr. Charlie Kirkconnell himself and noted Caribbean economist in person, Ms. Marla Dukharan. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is reminding you.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard. And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. And at times when we look and we see the impact of things in our society and on our economy in such a positive and productive way, we celebrate. And when they're driven by people with such humility and integrity and a desire to leave a lasting legacy, you are indeed inspired. So, Mr. Charlie Kirkconnell, again, it's a pleasure to know you, to be in your presence. How are you?
Pleasure to be back, and always a pleasure to be in your presence also.
Well, they say, iron sharpens iron, and I think that's where we have to find ourselves. A floating tide, they say, a rising tide floats all ships. The Cayman Enterprise Zone, as the last decade plus, has demonstrated an unwavering commitment, an amazing sort of transformation in the Cayman economy, not just as a third leg, but a reminder of the acumen that exists, the intellect that persists, but most importantly, an opportunity for future generations to not just subsist, but to access and truly be rewarded. Something that someone would not have appreciated until now.
I mean, it's been a lot of hard work over. We're now in our 12th year of existence, and some of the progress has been incremental, and some of it has been exponential. But it's never been easy, say. But it's always been rewarding. The mission of the Special Economic Zone, Socio-Economic Development Project is, I think, very, very important to the country, and we're delighted to be delivering on the promises that were made that led to the creation of the project, and to really be to be following through on the things that we said we were going to do.
It's commendable. You had a commitment. You've demonstrated concerted effort, and through it all, there's a sense that this is genuine. And I commend you honestly for that. It's not unlike me to be complimentary, but it is certainly not one to be flattering just so. If I can't believe it, I won't say it. And I really commend you and the team.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And I should note that the job is not done. The job is never done. I think the best years of and the significant impact that we will continue to have in the years ahead. I think the best days are still to come.
It's like when you age, the best years lie ahead. Well, Ms. Marla Dukharan, welcome. Official and formally to our studio. We've had the distinct pleasure and privilege of, speaking with you via the phone, but to have you in the studio, it's an honor.
Thank you so much for having me, Sterling. It is an honor and a pleasure for me to be here in person. Not just to talk to you, we've done this so many times, but it's always more special when it's in person, and also to support Charlie and his team. He just gave me the grand tour of their new headquarters, and I have to say it's it's something that I'm so proud of, that Charlie and his team have been able to. I mean, I said to him, he clearly had vision, and that this vision has come to fruition is something to be extremely proud of. So I congratulate Charlie and the team, and the impact that my team and I have been calculating every year that they have on the economy here in Cayman is every year increasingly positive, and one to I think emulate across the region. I keep saying over and over, we need a Cayman enterprise city in every country in the Caribbean. Too bad that this is the only one, but you certainly do set an amazing example, and the impact that we've been able to demonstrate in numbers that Charlie and his team and the Cayman Enterprise City and the SEZ has had is something that is not to be taken for granted. Because I know in Cayman you all take a lot for granted. There's a lot that works here, and that doesn't work elsewhere. And this is one of them. So congratulations to you and the team, Charlie.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
I'm hoping that as people listen, I've been thinking about our discussion. I've had the honor to see the facility, to look at your report, and many times within the Cayman context, you've said a couple of things that resonate with us, but for some reason we don't take it on board sufficiently. We take a lot for granted. Our beaches, we take the safety, the security, the seamless civility that exists amongst our society, the access to our politicians, the ability to criticize, complain, and at times, champion and celebrate. Those things don't come easily in many jurisdictions that are presumably seen as democratic, and yet our dogs run freely as our children, maybe too freely sometimes.
And the roosters.
Hey, leave my cousins alone. Oh, you mean? But the reason why I'm hoping that people listening now will take on board is that here is an objective, independent assessment year on year from you and your team about something that is ongoing and is continually making a meaningful impact economically and socially. And the notion that as we look at what we have here, I wonder if we can hear it once again from the perspective of a voice that doesn't sound, like mine. They say a prophet is not without honor save in his own country. Maybe sometimes we hear that gong being banged by someone else. We might actually sing in the chorus. So to your work, we talk about, making data-driven decisions. We have the data. We see the drive. Now, is it the society ethos to get behind and allow Cayman Enterprise City, and by extension, the entire economy to prosper?
Well, for sure, I think Cayman Enterprise City is a catalyst for the prosperity that I think can and will happen here. I mean, one of the things that in the assessment, you can go online and see the numbers, so I don't want to belabor the numbers. And some of the numbers are quite revealing. I mean, for the 12 years of existence, Cayman Enterprise City has generated an economic impact that we can measure. That's 92%, so almost the same impact economically as the work permit fees that the government collected in the same 12 years, and that's one of their largest revenue line items, right? So to show that you have had almost the same impact as all the work permits that we give out in Cayman, it's quite a significant impact. But I think the other impacts that are perhaps not as easily measurable, but to me, from a social standpoint, have even more of a long-term development, nation-building type impact is the fact that, for example, I think Cayman Enterprise City in the private sector is doing more education type activity than any other that I can find. And education in the industries and the sectors where you are seeing global growth. So one of the things we calculated in the report is how do these industries stack up globally that we have here in Cayman? And it's interesting to show that you have this concept of a rising star. Let me find it here so that I can read it. You have the concept of a rising star industry where you're gaining market share in a growing market globally. Then you have declining star, meaning you're gaining market share in an industry that is either stagnant or declining globally. And the only rising star sector here in Cayman, which CEC is bringing to your shores, is the ICT sector, information technology communications, right? And the other sectors, travel, transport, finance, and insurance, are actually declining star sectors. So the sectors that we are fully embedded in, that our economy is currently being driven by, that, you know, we invest a lot of time and effort into, are globally declining star sectors, meaning that they are not expanding as much globally as the ICT sector. And I've talked many times about the fact that because of our smallness and size, because of our resource restrictions and so on, we need to be focused on knowledge-based sectors for growth and for the young people in our societies, not just in Cayman, throughout the region. And this is exactly what Cayman Enterprise City is doing.
Later on in our discussion, if I might invite you for more of a general discussion on sort of the socio-economic impact of things and the idea that you reference, knowledge-based sector. We talk about societies going through from the agrarian to the industrial to the information age. Whether you read Desert Banner or the like, you start to appreciate that sort of knowledge transfer is key. But later on, I want to ask about that. So when we look at the Cayman economy today, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, where's the employment? Where's the entrepreneurial? Where are the opportunities for education and advancement? But Charlie, as we come back from the break, maybe through you, the vision, not just the impetus, but now the vision for CEC, and where do you see yourself 10, 20 years from now? Where do you want to take us? Where do you want to take CEC? You talk about the project. I recognize that, like many, your schedule is demanding, but we want to, tap into as much as possible. That'll be fine?
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, the phone lines are open if you want to share a thought, ask a question. 949-8037, 949-6990. You can WhatsApp 925-32621. Charlie Kirkconnell together with Marla Dukharan. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
This Mother's Day, Digicel wants to take you to brunch. We're giving away brunch vouchers for you and mom to enjoy a delightful feast together. Winning is easy. Simply activate the postpaid Supreme plan or the 30-day Prime Max plan, and you could be our lucky winner. Don't let the chance to treat mom to a special day out slip away. Visit your nearest Digicel store today or hop onto the My Digicel app for your shot at winning. Make this Mother's Day a memorable one with Digicel.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square, and I got find my way to Barbados. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana, plus Barbados. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Hi, this is Juliana O'Connor Conley, the Honourable Premier of the Cayman Islands. I'm inviting you to come out to the March for Jesus, Saturday, 18th of May, 2024. Thank you very much.
Join us for the March for Jesus on the 18th of May 2024, starting at the 7 Mile Public Beach at 3 p.m. Then for our Thank You Jesus Praise and Worship concert starting at 6:30 p.m. on Albert Panton Street. For more information, visit our website at www.caymanairs.com. christian.ky and then click on the March for Jesus 2024 tab. See you at the March for Jesus.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
The public consultation period for Cayman's new national health strategy is currently underway. Follow the Ministry of Health and Wellness on Facebook for information on upcoming town hall meetings, radio appearances, and other ways to tell us what you think. Email your comments to mohfeedback@gov.ky or log on to gov.ky/health-wellness to complete the survey. Your voice matters, Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and to the CEO of Cayman Enterprise today, Mr. Charlie Kirkconnell, and to noted Caribbean economist, Ms. Marla Dukharan, for joining us as we talk about this Cayman Enterprise today initially and the Socio-Economic Impact Assessment for 2023. Charlie, I was just asking of you going into the break. Numbers, I think, sometimes is what policymakers look to in order to point to things. Politicians, in particular, if you can paint a picture for them in order to sway the populace. But numbers in and of themselves is one thing. The vision, the people, I think, are where we should focus. For you, not just the impetus, but the vision for CEC the next year, the next 10, 50 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, the mission for us is to continue to deliver on, the mission as it began, and so to attract foreign direct investment from new business sectors that help to create career and entrepreneurial opportunities for Caymanians in new fields. And to help create some, economic diversity away from such a heavy reliance on financial services and tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Those have always been stated as being our two main missions. We have more, it's broader than that, but we've always stated those as being our two main. And in the years ahead, we of course, our mission is to continue to deliver in those areas. But something that has emerged, knowledge transfer has always been part of the part of the mission, but it has really emerged over the last few years, and I think that this is where we will have the greatest impact in the years ahead, and where we are investing significantly, both in terms of time and money, into programs that drive knowledge transfer into to the local people, and we do a variety of things that are designed specifically for that through our Enterprise Cayman not-for-profit initiative, and we have programs that are focused on careers development initiatives and on supporting entrepreneurism. And for me, that I think that is where in the years ahead where we will, our focus will continue to sharpen, and where we will have the greatest impact.
Marla, with that, your report is able to, it's one thing for a listening public to hear something, go, yep, that's the marketing hook. That's the thing that is being said by the entity in order to make itself look good, to promote itself. But you're able to, assess what is happening and document. And that's knowledge-based transfer that exists. In many cases, we seem to want it to be a byproduct, but you've identified actually in the CEC's case, it's integral to what they're doing. That, I think, is ingenious.
Absolutely, 100% ingenious. And, people talk about diversification as something the government needs to do. In my country, when is the government going to diversify the economy? The government doesn't diversify the economy. They look after governance. They run the country in terms of the civil service. it's the private sector that diversifies. It's the private sector that identifies gaps and identifies opportunity. And what I think Cayman Enterprise City has done is recognize and capitalize on the fact that we have an excellent jurisdiction here for locating business, right? For so many reasons, okay? Ease of doing business, legislation, regulation, etc., etc. But you also have, this idea of you have 120 nationalities in this small space that of 80,000 people that would live here, work here peacefully. And it's some of the best and brightest people in the world that come and live and work here in Cayman. And so this is, to me, an extension of that, an extension of what has made Cayman and sets Cayman apart from the rest of the Caribbean. What I think is really standing out for me every year when I do this is the fact that it is not necessarily a requirement to do this economic impact assessment every year to demonstrate exactly how much we've contributed. But we do it every year, and Charlie is the one who has said, I want to do this every year so that you maintain accountability for what you've said you're going to do and for making a contribution to the society that you're benefiting from and that your business is benefiting from. And I think that is very important. I've noticed across the region we have issues around accountability, public sector and private sector. And when I see an entity that is voluntarily holding itself to account for what its mandate is and what it says it's going to do, and does so every year, objectively, independently, it is something exemplary again. And I want to again congratulate Charlie for that level of integrity and transparency, because I don't see this even in the private sector regionally. And in the Caribbean, unless you hold people to account, public sector and private sector, things don't get done. And this level of accountability is not common at all. And this demonstration of exactly, like there's and I encourage your listeners to go on the CEC's website and have a look at the report. And, we show very graphically, so it's not a lot of reading. We show graphically all of the areas in the economy that are impacted and to what degree it's impacted. And that kind of analysis and accountability, I think, is very important, and we need to develop more of a culture of accountability.
Indeed.
Here.
I almost want to joke and jest and say that those who heard the word graphically, that means we're using graphs, not like in today's parlance where it's a graphic image. It's not that. No, it's just my attempt to humor. But that's what I like about it. It's a graph. There's data. We can look at it. It's quick and easy to read, and you can point to things and go, okay. We have a call online, Ms. Susan? Okay, in our studio, Charlie Kirkconnell, and together with noted Caribbean economist and advisor, Ms. Marla Dukharan. Charlie, those headsets look like they would fit you comfortably. Oh. I would invite you and Ms. Marla. Okay. Don the headsets.
This one?
Yeah, you look cool in them actually, Charlie. I mean, I use mine to keep my hair in place, but that's a different story. So we're going to see who we have on the phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hi. Good afternoon, Sterling.
And to you, Ms. Carey.
Good afternoon to your panel.
How are you today?
I'm good.
How are the cats in the back?
Oh, they're doing wonderful. Nobody's killing them. I made sure of that. Anyway, anyone who kills a cat will be sued by me. That's your first warning shot across the bow.
There you go.
Anyways, I just want to address Charlie in respect to the SEZ. Are you the only individual or company that has been awarded this special economic zone in Cayman Islands, and was it exclusive just for you, or can someone else create another one?
Our agreement with the government has granted us the status of developer of the special economic zone for the particular areas that we focus on, and so yes, we are the sole developer of for the knowledge and technology focused business sectors that we focus on.
Okay, I have a concern as far as people utilizing your SEZ. I'm just going to give you a scenario, and you tell me how the SEZ went about vetting individuals and ensuring that they're not bringing them into our country to do further damage. A particular individual was approved by the SEZ to start businesses here, and they brought in a whole bunch of stuff, including a boat and car and you name it, and never paid the moving company over $40-something thousand. And basically, we're out here wondering, how is that possible? Because these individuals are being granted work permits under special conditions of the SEZ that's been granted, and other special conditions for the startup of businesses and the operating of their business and everything else. And basically, this individual kept saying that they were a pauper, they had no money, and never paid their debt over at the moving company in the country. How is it you're vetting these individuals?
Well, all of the applicants for what is called a zone trade certificate in the special economic zone apply to the government authority that's been set up specifically for the special economic zone, called the Special Economic Zones Authority. There's a vetting that goes on, and the due diligence documentation is provided on all applicants, including their ultimate beneficial owners, their directors, and to the extent that they need a work permit, they have to apply to immigration work. So we're different in many ways than what a special economic zone is in other jurisdictions where there's one law and it's administered by the developer. We're not set up in that way. The laws of the country apply to the members of the special economic zone, and to the extent that someone has broken a law, they're liable. So it sounds like they through not paying for services received, they've breached a contract, and to the extent that the moving company would like to take them to court to sue them for non-payment, they get no protection within the special economic zone from breaching contracts, breaking the law, and that sort of thing.
Charlie, if I just may clarify, I think to the callers, there may be the perception in that anything that operates within the SEZ is you and you guys. I just want to make sure I understand you. That is the government's approval through the special entity that's created by law to vet, to approve, to sanction, and then when it comes to you, all of that part, the compliance and due diligence, has already been handled from the quote-unquote the government end. True.
Yeah, correct. I mean, we are not the authority responsible for signing off on whether people are are entitled to come and live and work in the islands. We don't have that level of authority. Mm-hmm. So they answer to the same level of scrutiny as do businesses that apply for trade and business licenses and work permits and those sorts of things. But there's never any guarantee that there aren't bad people mixed in with whether it's inside the zone or outside the zone. There's never any guarantee that somebody who manages to meet a certain level of due diligence and that they're not underneath it all going to do something that they shouldn't do.
Right. So, Ms. Carey, does that help you in any way in assessing what you were querying?
It does, to a certain degree. It does. It's just they're using the SEZ as their cloak, I guess, to protect them, which is what this individual is saying. They're protected under the special economic zone. They can't be sued and all of this.
Okay, well, that's incorrect.
Clarity,
right.
I understand.
So,
now they can pursue them.
Yeah. So, Ms. Carey, this is sort of like the example of somebody leaving Grand Cayman to come over in the BRAC to escape their crime. They're still in the Cayman Islands, right? They won't, even though they're overseas, they don't need to be extradited. Similar thing, right?
So I guess it's similar.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to just quickly get clarification on. So if a second party, another individual or entity wants to set up a special economic zone, are they able to do that once they're not in the same type of zoning criteria that you're following as far as what services and information you're covering. Is that what I'm understanding there?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it as layman for the general public, because a lot of people aren't aware of what this special economic zone is and how it's either plus or the good from it or the bad from it that's going on in the country. And I'm here to try and get more clarity so if others don't know.
There's a limited scope to the special economic zone, and the particular scope was chosen to focus on industries that either did not exist in the Cayman Islands prior to the establishment of the special economic zone, or did not exist here in a significant way. So knowledge and technology focused businesses, particularly those in the ICT space, that is the main focus of our project. And prior to 2011, there's a limited amount of that sort of activity going on here, and the government decided at the time that these are the industries of the future. These industries are going to create the jobs of the future. The government wants to incentivize the establishment of these industries in a significant way here, and that's our mission. But to the extent that someone would like to, create a special economic zone that is focused on something outside of the existing scope of Cayman Enterprise City, absolutely, that is open. It's there's something called the Special Economic Zones Act, which provides a mechanism for how you might go about doing that.
Just for further edification, Charlie, are there other quote-unquote special economic zones in Cayman, or is CEC the only one?
We operate the only special economic zones in the Cayman Islands.
Okay. Ms. Carey?
Thank you so much. It's brought a lot of clarity for me, and I hope it also cleared it up for a lot of people out there in the audience.
One last thing I'll say, if I may.
Sure.
We have had people run out on not pay our invoices as well. It's a part of business, unfortunately, where sometimes you provide a good or service and someone doesn't pay you for it. And we have had that experience with some of our clients as well. So I can relate to your situation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, clearly the ministry that's responsible for vetting these people need to up their game. Thank you, Sterling and Charlie. Take care of yourselves. Bye.
All right. Talk to you
Thanks.
soon. I'm told we got a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. It's going to get better. Trust me. Stay tuned.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
This Mother's Day, Digicel wants to take you to brunch. We're giving away brunch vouchers for you and mom to enjoy a delightful feast together. Winning is easy. Simply activate the postpaid Supreme plan or the 30-day Prime Max plan, and you could be our lucky winner. Don't let the chance to treat mom to a special day out slip away. Visit your nearest Digicel store today or hop onto the My Digicel app for your shot at winning. Make this Mother's Day a memorable one with Digicel.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square, and I got find my way to Barbados. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what, though, this old girl feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana, plus Barbados. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
And welcome back, and thanks to the caller for helping us. And Charlie Kirkconnell, the CEO of the Cayman Empire City, and it's Marla Dukharan. They say often, proof is in the pudding. And as we look at your year-on-year, assessments, two questions. One, anything particular stands out, that is of interest and is there? Secondly, a bit of trepidation going in and go, man, what is she going to find? Because she's not going to leave any stone unturned. We know Miss Marla is competent, ethical. She has, the integrity. You want an honest assessment, not unlike what we say to the politicians is, tell me what I want to hear, not what I need to know. You want to hear what needs to be said, right? So those two questions.
Okay, well, I'll start with the second one. You probably have to remind me what the first one is.
We can do that. We made a note.
One of the conditions for Marla signing on to do this socio-economic impact assessment was that it's warts and all. She's not going to write. She said very clear with us, and we didn't ask for this, but she's not going to write a marketing piece for us. If we engage her to do this, it's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
100%.
Yeah, and that is exactly what we wanted as well, because we want to provide an honest assessment to the general public on basically what their return on investment is, because ultimately it's the country's investment. So there are concessions being granted that are being passed on through CEC to businesses to come here to do certain things. As I said before, foreign direct investment, economic diversification, knowledge transfer, and so we reporting back to the public on the government and the public on what their return on investment is something that we take very, very seriously. And transparency to report back and to report back transparently is something that we take very, very seriously, and I think it's very, very important for the country to know that so we have this investment. What are we getting out of it?
Yeah, and interesting. Is there a call, Ms. Susan? And interestingly, clarified just to make sure I have not mistaken. To date, no direct concessions by government to CEC. Have you received, foreign investors, quote unquote, relative to hotels, condos, and other smaller projects, apply for and receive concessions from government in relation to, tens of millions of dollars? You guys?
Well, no, we pay full stamp duty, and we pay full import duties on construction materials. We technology items imported are duty free, but those are things for use in the course of business. But as far as the stamp duty and construction materials, we do not get a special rate on those things.
I don't say that to inflame anybody, but Ms. Marla, from that perspective, you pay in your way, there's a significant return on investment, and making a contribution of approaching $1 billion in the decade plus. And that's good for a country. You're not asking for something, you actually putting something good into it.
Absolutely. Of course, it's good. And the fact that you are able to demonstrate this return every year, 12 years now, almost $1 billion, as you rightly said. What about the other entities that get concessions and don't hold themselves to account, and nobody knows publicly how those concessions are benefiting us as a nation? That's a question we need to ask. I think that the fact as well that you're getting, a foreign direct investment flow, again, in industries that are not just the existing industries that we know we have an established market for, but new progressive industries that are ICT based, that are growth based globally, not just domestically. That's what's also important, that it's not just you're making a contribution based on FDI, and FDI can come in so many forms. It's the specific sectors, and that's one of the things I feel like I can't overemphasize, because in 20 years from now, the world of work is going to look very different. And for example, one of the things we found in the analysis, and I want to quote a report that was done by the World Economic Forum, I believe it was, and what they found is that, in the ICT sector is where the growth in jobs is going to take place globally. And this is where when you think about young Caymanians and where are they going to want to stay in their country, and are they going to want to work and build this nation, or are they going to just leave? Like, we have this problem of brain drain throughout the region. But if you can live and work here, not just Caymanians, but people from the outside live and work here, contribute to society, and work in a sector that is growing globally, then it sets you apart from the other sectors that are, as we talked about, in stagnation or even in decline globally. So yes, there's two elements to the benefits. The investment side, the FDI side, the fact that you hold yourself to account for it, and then the fact that these are growth sectors.
Charlie, we have the news break. I'd love to invite you to stay on if you can. All right. To our listeners, Charlie Kirkconnell and Marla Dukharan, as we continue our discussion, please stay tuned.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Government's chief nursing officer marks her first Nurses Week in office by reaching out to current nursing professionals and encouraging them to collaborate with her and the ministry as they help shape policies that uphold the highest standards in the nursing profession. May 6th through the 12th marks Nurses Week, with Sunday, May 12th, marking Nurses Day. In international headlines, Caribbean-American Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke and other co-chairs of the Haiti caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives, as well as their congressional colleagues, renewed a call for urgent U.S. action in addressing the growing crisis in Haiti. At a press conference on Capitol Hill in the U.S. this week, the group said the humanitarian, political, economic, and security crises in the French-speaking violence-wracked Caribbean country are becoming, quote, increasingly dire. The policies urged by lawmakers and advocates include extending and redesignating temporary protected status for Haiti, halting all deportations to Haiti, and passing a new economic assistance package that creates jobs and rebuilds Haiti's infrastructure. Israel's military spokesman says the army has the weapons it needs to press ahead with its offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari responded to media questions after U.S. President Joe Biden said that he would not supply offensive weapons that Israel could use to launch an all-out assault on Rafah, the last major Hamas stronghold in Gaza, over concerns for the civilians there. Hagari said relations with the U.S. remain close and that disagreements should be resolved behind closed doors. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
HSA's Urgent Care Clinic is now open 7 days per week to serve you better. Visit our dedicated team at Urgent Care, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and weekends and public holidays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment necessary. If you are experiencing non-life-threatening symptoms and conditions such as the cold and flu, sprains and cuts, earaches, nausea and vomiting, visit Urgent Care's walk-in clinic at the main entrance of the Georgetown Hospital, now open every day. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
At Kirk Market, it's so easy to eat well and find healthy options. With their fresh veggies from local farmers, hormone-free chicken, local seafood, and grass-fed meats, Kirk Market has delicious, quality food at the best prices. And you must check out their fresh salad bar, hot bar, and med bar for daily healthy options on the go. Their delicious dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients such as prime meats and organic veggies. Eating great is important to me. That's why Kirk Market is my store. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and shop happy.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman on the 8th day of July, 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Not only did Captain Scott work the seas for over 52 years, but he was mathematically inclined. In the early 70s, Captain Scott received his first calculator, eventually moving on to computers. After retiring from sea, Captain Scott used his knowledge of navigation, his love for mathematics, and general knowledge to write various computer programs that would impact the lives of the people of the Cayman Islands, such as payroll calculation and a program that could tell the depths at any point of the Georgetown Harbor, which would allow him to give any ship in port the coordinates to drop anchor. However, his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. To create this program, he first drew the world map by using actual coordinates from the various coastlines around the world, including the most minute coves. This information would be transmitted by his shipping mates from around the world, making him the local reliable source on storm predictions.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to inform its Cayman BRAC customers that there will be temporary interruptions to water service from Tuesday 7th May to Friday 10th May between the hours of 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on specified days. Affected streets: Lilies Lane, Moon Lane, White Bay Road, unnamed road between White Bay Road and Barney's Road, Barney's Road, Amberville Lane, and the road at West End Primary School. Customers who will be affected will receive a door hanger notice, which will be delivered the day before service is scheduled to be interrupted. An additional door hanger notice will also be delivered upon restoration of water service. These service interruptions are to facilitate our ongoing leak detection project. The aim is to enhance our system's integrity by identifying and repairing all possible leaks. We advise customers to store enough water for personal use during service interruptions and limit the use of water-intensive appliances. For further information, customers may contact the customer service team in Cayman BRAC by calling 948-1403 or emailing braccs@waterauthority.ky.
I was undercover and had just recovered the stolen artwork, but...
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with managing my insurance?
Well, long story long. I found the art thief in France, but ended up becoming somewhat of a local celebrity. So I had to stick around for a while. But I was able to handle all my insurance needs with CG's online portal.
The online portal. Safe, convenient, simple. CG Britgay. Good like that.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you want to be a part of the discussion, the phone lines are indeed open, 949-8837, 949-6990. We have Charlie Kirkconnell and Marla Dukharan joining us. And, the idea of socioeconomic impact assessments are always important, especially when not driven by some, government entity, but independently assess, that's good. I'm told we have a call. Charlie, I don't want you to mess up your hair too much, but could I invite you to put on the headset again, my friend?
All right.
As you go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
And Mr. Brown, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, wonderful. This is a great day.
And let us rejoice in it, my friend. This is the day the Lord has made.
I'm telling you. And I'd like to say a special good afternoon to Mr. Charlie, and Miss Marla Dukharan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You say the name better than I do, man. I tell you.
I'd like to speak to this subject.
Please.
Economy, business, etc. Because I know there are quite a few young people who would like to be they'd like to be singers, they'd like to be designers of technology. I believe in that. I have done music, I've done work hard to design technology, certain types. But the thing is, no one here that I know of can, build the parts and put the technology together. But I'd just like to know if, for example, because there's quite a few brilliant young people in the Cayman Islands. I'd like to know if investing in, for example, people that do music, young Caymanians, and technology designers, other brilliant people, is it possible that it can strengthen the Cayman economy? I'd just like to hear, particularly from Ms. Marla, or to hear what you have to say about it.
All right. Thanks so much for always listening and sharing it. And maybe I can add to your question initially first to Charlie. When we hear CEC, there are other quote-unquote parks. There's a maritime, there's other. Maybe as Ms. Marla responds in terms of that, if she wishes, what are some of the other parks within the CEC? Because there's a media park as well.
So the part of what is the world of tech includes the creation of original content for publication, and that might take the form of music or like video content and that sort of thing. And we have a program that is part of the special economic zone. So businesses that operate in those spaces are entitled to apply to be licensed into the SEZ.
Okay. We know the creatives, and thanks again, Mr. Brown, for that call. And I like his, all his questions. In the creative sector, from intellectual property to actual designing, as you said, technology or the use of other equipment, is a space where we see why some people get paid significant amount of money, and yet, to what, as I understand him, are we not only encouraging that, but facilitating and then providing avenues and then protecting people? That could grow well for a society.
Absolutely. In the creation of intellectual property and the protection of intellectual property, it's two very big businesses globally. And I mean, to that point, I just want to share in one of the slides that we've prepared when we looked at the data, the sectors with the highest social rate of return in Cayman, as we've calculated, are, and in this order of importance: real estate, financial services. One that I would like to group called utilities. It's electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply, water supply, and sewerage. So say it again: real estate, financial services, utilities, and ICT, with the highest social rate of return in Cayman. And so, yes, in terms of the broad economic impact, we can demonstrate it there. And then there's another chart, the one that you like, Charlie, with all the bubbles, that shows all of the network of effects in the economy that Cayman Enterprise City has, in terms of the government and the revenue that the government collects, the professional services that they use, the consumption, the real estate, the shipping, marketing. It's a host of bubbles. You will see it on the chart. And so we demonstrate empirically the mapping of all of the subsectors that are affected and impacted by the work that CEC and its member companies and the zone does. So yes, and I want to just also agree with you, Sterling, that whole idea of intellectual property, and this is one of the things I was going to talk to you, Charlie, when he was giving me the tour. And I wrote about it some time ago. I don't know if you all know about Albany in Bahamas, where what they do is there is this apparently world-class music recording studio. And people like DJ Khaled and, lots of world-renowned musicians go and record there because they can then register their intellectual property there. And then you have all your various legislative and tax benefits around that. And I think, so that's just another demonstration of another country that's doing this kind of thing. I think that this is something that really Cayman can leverage because you have such a very strong already legislative framework around the protection of intellectual property.
I mean, the registration of patents and trademarks in Cayman has been phenomenal. And I think it was a Virgin way back when was trying to do something in the early days.
Yeah. So it's been a few years, but yes, I believe that was the 2010, 2011, 2012, I believe.
While we were still young?
Yeah, while we were still young.
But, and I'm going to be very mindful of your time, Mr. Kirkconnell, but I highlighted, and I don't have a highlighter here, I posted it, that, as you just referenced, right? You circle it. And the fact that the real estate, in terms of the average monthly earnings and the rate of return to GDP, stands out significantly. I don't put my glasses on, but that's approaching 1,000%. And yet, within the Cayman sector, to what extent, and this is something that maybe we could talk about later on in the next hour or so, as to what are we saying within our education systems, what employment are we introducing and making our students aware. If you can get 1,000% return on your money, that's not bad. I mean,
you could do worse.
You could do worse. Let me see. No, I just. but I want to say that partly in jest, Charlie, to sort of pivot to you. Here is something that is tangible, and that you have made a physical investment. You've been consistent over the 12 years, and then unlike other things, as Ms. Marla referenced, it's a knowledge-based sector, so people working with people learn things. In the 80s, the Japan economy may have been accused of being not innovators but imitators. We see in the geopolitical space, China allegedly, being questioned as to when Western companies come there and they learn from the technology. But the practice exists, and we have people working in Cayman, employing people here. We learn something from ICT to other things that not only positions them for potential global work, but it gives them a skill set that is immediate impactful here. I don't know. I try to find, honestly, a way to critique it so that it's not only constructive, but how do we pick it apart? I've been taxed. It seems to be mostly all wins.
Yeah, and the knowledge transfer. There's a level of it that will happen just on its own. But we have a number of programs that are designed to drive it. And kind of going back to the caller's comments and question, leaving it to chance is not something that we're interested in doing. And it's not part of, that's not part of our mandate and our obligations as part of the privilege to develop this project. We have a number of careers development initiatives that we invest heavily in. We're a Cisco networking academy, an Oracle academy. We have something called Cayman Code Academy, which is a boot camp style coding school that is available for people who might be interested in becoming programmers. We have a entrepreneurism support ecosystem that is designed for those that maybe they're not looking for a career opportunity. Maybe they have an idea and they want to develop it and start their own company. And we have what's called our business design competition, which is an ideate stage program where it's designed to essentially take someone who has an idea, help them take their idea from just a concept all the way through to where they have a validated business idea, and something that tells them, okay, this is either this is something that you should continue with, or tells them that, okay, maybe this wasn't such a great idea after all. And then we offer an incubator program that is designed to help projects that have, with a validated business idea, progress their project through to investment ready status. And then we marry that all up with an investment angel society, and that's designed to help projects that need money to keep going, to continue to develop their project. It's designed to help them find some of those resources on island. So kind of tie it all together, if I can do that, is that all of these things are knowledge transfer. All of these things are investment in future opportunity for Caymanians, and we take investing in these programs very, very seriously. And we also are very focused on making sure that they are effective. I think it's very okay. It can, well, careful what I say, but it's very. I think it would be quite easy to do things in a way that got us a lot of positive press, if you will, but didn't really help anyone. And we're not interested in good PR. We are interested in effective programs that actually help people. Whether it helps them develop a career, or it helps them develop a business idea that will employ them and provide them, with a livelihood. We don't want to just pay lip service or kind of head fake. We have this program over here. Maybe you'll enjoy it, and we put some stuff out there that says we have this program, and hope that nobody really takes a look behind the curtain. We are committed to making these programs not just putting these programs in place, but also in making them impactful.
Well, this is where I think having a discussion with you publicly may encourage a few things, and I like the fact that you have. Perhaps, unless I'm mistaken, the only entity that has not only been consistent, but have been the only entity that has put what you're doing publicly. And the notion of openness, accountability, and transparency, we say the proof is in the pudding. And from what you just shared, you're not talking about style over substance. You want it. Now, maybe to that point, for those of us who've lived, worked, or are from other places, can appreciate the difficulties it is in getting an art exhibit, perhaps getting an internship, perhaps even getting to volunteer in a program where you are one of 1,000 applicants for a volunteer position. In the Cayman context, a lot of access is much easier than many of us appreciate. So those programs, because they're right there, is it then for us, the local community, to really appreciate and value it, to see for what it is, or how do we get that, get that buy-in?
Well, I mean, the networking opportunities that we host somewhere in the range of 100 events per year, and the vast majority of them are open to the public. Some of them are, for example, we have a cyber sandbox that is designed to get people in the ICT space together in twice a month at all levels, so that people can meet each other. Maybe they work on a project together. Maybe out of that comes a mentorship. Maybe out of that comes an internship. Maybe out of that comes a job opportunity. Those sorts of things. And what I would do is I would just encourage anybody who might be interested in pursuing a career in this space or developing a business idea in this space or actually any business idea. We don't limit our entrepreneurism support ecosystem to tech. But anybody who might be interested in getting involved in whatever way, we'd love to hear from you. Please come to our events. Please reach out to us. And to the extent that you might be interested in doing so, you can send us an email at innovate@enterprisecayman.ky. Or if you just want to go and take a look at our Enterprise Cayman website, that's www.enterprisecayman.ky. Take a look and see if you see anything on there that you might be interested in getting involved in. We'd love to speak with you.
All right, well, I'm going to just read this question as written because I think I can help to answer it, but I'll leave it to you. Okay. Listeners asking, does CEC do finance, loans for projects and business ideas?
CEC does not, but we do have an entity called the Cayman Islands Investment Angel Society, and that's a bit of a work in progress. It's a new initiative, but that it is designed to do exactly that.
But you also have a business design competition.
Yep. That
you get all these good things helping you to get your idea, off the ground, and then if you win, you get a couple of dollars, right?
Yeah. There is a cash prize. There's a number of cash prizes, and thank you for pointing that out. There are a number of cash prizes available to projects that participate in the program. But ultimately, if you're looking for the type of venture money that will help you continue to develop your project, the kind of cash prize for winning the event, for example, will get you to a certain point, but an ongoing project will need more than that, shall we say? And again, the Investment Angel Society might be the initiative that helps with that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll take a break just a bit earlier. When we come back, Ms. Marla, you stay with us for a bit longer?
Absolutely.
We can get a talk about one of the things I like about this report is not only, this is the wrong word to use, it's a critical analysis of something that's happening in our country, but there's also now a public document that policymakers and politicians and just us as ordinary people can look at. It's a resource. We could see something to go, it's free information. At least for us. Charlotte, thanks for paying for it. So maybe in there we can talk about some things.
For sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Please join us after the break.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square, and I got find my way to Barbados. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana, plus Barbados. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage wishes to advise that the Emancipation Day celebrations that were scheduled for this weekend in Cayman Brac, they have been postponed until the weekend of 1st of June 2024. The ministry apologizes for any inconvenience caused, and they look forward to celebrating in the Brac and invites everyone to join in on the new date, which is June 1st.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks again to Mr. Charlie Kirkconnell, the CEO of Cayman Enterprise City, for joining us. And, well, he has work to go to. I'm at work. As much fun as I'm having, as taxing as it can be to prepare, it's always a joy to learn, and to be in the company of good people makes it that much better. I say that again, Ms. Marla Dukharan, for joining us. And maybe it's through you and your reports for inspiring, as the academics talk about, interrogation of data, of what impact something is having on the society, the good or the not so good. And the socio-economic implications of things sometimes are ignored. We want to know what it's going to cost, what is going to get me back. And do we miss the actual impact because we only look at the dollars and not necessarily the cents? Mm-hmm. Can I put it that way? Mm-hmm. My economist friends going, yeah, you go, boy, you champion that. But this makes it both beneficial because we can see the dollars, but we can also see the sense of why something is being done, and that the fact that it's being done consistently. Anything done over a decade potentially has staying power. And if it grows year on year, even more encouraging. Well, that's just my thought.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm off back.
No, absolutely. And I think that you're right. The social, at the end of the day, as an economist, even just all of us as people, at the end of the day, what's the point of doing what we do unless we can somehow make somebody's life better?
Yeah.
Right? And so, like you said, it's easy to measure the dollars of an impact or the cost, but it's not that easy to measure social impact or social cost. Yeah. Right? You have, for example, triple bottom line that some companies look to measure to see how their impact is, not just in terms of profit or loss, but also their impact on the wider society. Then you have ESG. Some companies are now heading towards the direction of measuring their ESG impact, their environmental, social and governance. So it is something that I guess everybody recognizes that it's important to measure social impact, but it's not easy to measure. And it's also not easy to then convince decision makers to do things if you can't show them the sense, as you put it, of why you need to do it. Right. But, when we've done this analysis for Cayman Enterprise City, we like to show the social impact as it relates to, for example, the education aspect of it, the fact that these are sectors that are growth sectors, as I mentioned before, and rising star sectors globally. So all of these things mean that it's going to have, and is already having, a massive positive social impact.
And this is where I think as we talk more about it, I think sometimes we conflate economics and finance,
Of course.
and we don't see the difference. And then when we talk about impact, and cost, maybe we're not seeing what economists talk about, the opportunity cost, because for us it's not immediately measurable. You build and sell a widget for $1 and it costs you 50 cents. Oh, I made 50 cents. No, you may have actually lost $4 because of all the other inputs that you didn't put into play. I say that to then ask, in your report you talk about the Cayman resourcefulness that drives the economy, the growth for our population in the last 50 years. I've rounded off to 100,000. That's not to be inflammatory. I don't think I'm far off, but as you rightly pointed out, no other country, or very few, could have had that significant population growth and still be somewhat, what's the word we like to use these days? Sustainable.
Sustainable.
From 10,000 to 100,000, or even doubling, tripling, 100-fold. But yet we're managing to do something, and we've seen the resilience and the resolve following Hurricane Ivan. There's something that's spectacular. So that's socio-economic consideration. How do we, the general public, buy into that? We know politicians, for instance, want to build or a road or some tangible thing that from one election to the next, they can convince the voter. See, I put down speed bumps and street lights. But your child who is now 4 years old, entering school, you won't know the significant positive impact until the child is 24. Are we thinking too short term? One election cycle versus 2 decades?
Well, that's, somebody said once, the difference between a politician and a statesman is exactly that. Their perspective. The politician focuses on the electoral cycle, and the statesman focuses on the long-term, socioeconomic trajectory of their country. I think that it is human nature to focus on what's in front of us, right? And I guess you can't necessarily blame, politicians for having that sort of very immediate electoral cycle focus. But I think that, those of us who are decision makers in our own spaces, whether you're an educator, whether you're a private sector business person, I think that, you have to think about, because, if you want to be here for the rest of your life, you want your children to live here, you want them to have a decent life, you can't help but think about everything that you do and the impact that it's having on the longer term.
Right.
And, CEC is the only company that's demonstrating what their impact is. I don't know of any other private sector entity, apart from those that are, regulated and mandated to publish their financials. And that's just financials. That's different from economic impact.
Yeah.
There are very few that do this. And I think that it's something that is revealing.
I want to ask, and just generally, if you'd allow me, and forgive me for sometimes I find that I learn by asking, by talking, by engaging, and I don't want to take too much license, but we have an opportunity to benefit from someone like you who's done reports on Cayman, about Cayman, but about the Caribbean. You've traveled, you have that expertise in that cross-comparative jurisdictional sort of reference, may engage and encourage us to look inwardly. So with that in mind, 2 things. One, the fact that seemingly CEC as a private entity, not just for its own purposes, but is willing to share it publicly, has done this thing that demonstrates openness, accountability, and transparency that we would expect a government, say through its Public Accounts Committee or the role of an Auditor General, to do. Why is it then as a country, or even as a ethos within the private sector, that we're not requiring, insisting, maybe querying as to why, more sectors or more entities aren't doing this, especially if alleged, or if as alleged, they get a concession from a government to build a condo or hotel or some project, but we don't know, well, what have you done?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I'm seeing more and more, for example, financial regulators are asking insurance companies and banks globally to demonstrate what is their ESG policy and how are they stacking up in terms of their performance against their ESG policy. So I think that there is a movement globally towards the recognition that we have to be more sustainably minded. I think it is happening, Sterling, to answer your question. It's probably not happening fast enough, and it's probably not covering as many sectors as we would like it to. But I think that as regards to the whole idea of concessions, I think once public money is being used for any purpose, just as in the same way that the Minister of Finance has to get up every year and account for what revenue was received by the government and how that money was spent, I think that any entity that receives concessions and receives public money, because that is what that is. It's not the government's money.
This is your children's money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the money belonging to the citizens of the nation.
All right.
To me, you should account for that, and you should account for the impact that you're having on the economy and on society based on these concessions, which is why it is important. Why it's important is because what we could end up doing is creating perverse incentives and incentivizing companies and entities and sectors that actually have a negative impact on our economy and a negative impact on our societies. And that's, I think, very important, and I'm glad that you said that. And we do not have a culture of accountability in the Caribbean. We do not. We do not hold people to account, and ourselves as well, sufficiently.
And maybe that's where that ethos needs to be inculcated. And listening to you, I ask then oftentimes when, to your point, that sort of perverse incentivizing of these projects, potentially we could also create a perception in the community that something is happening, so therefore there's some nefarious activity. A government, a politician, a senior bureaucrat is getting something under the table.
When in fact it's not the case.
Yeah. And yet we have that and we castigate everybody. So this could help that.
Of course.
Right.
Transparency, what is in the light the truth will always come to the light, and it's better to have the truth come to light, right, than to have all kinds of suspicions festering, no?
What your mama say, what you do in the dark come out in the light.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. So with that now, and even though there is some semblance of political discussions, I would like for us who are listening to see this as, the academic setting. We're at UCCI, and there's a roundtable panel discussions, students are asking questions, and not to take it for anything other than an opportunity to constructively assess and to query and to perhaps go, with that. The political nature of things, we talk often that the politician sees it in election cycles. But respectfully, the voters are driving that. Well, what are you doing for me? What have you done in this last 4 years? Are you better off today than you were? And foolishly, last 100 days, what have you accomplished? Really? I mean, elephants take longer for gestation period, and we want miracles in 100 days. So is it then, as much as the politician may be at fault, maybe the politician isn't bringing enough to the table, is it then us, the voter, much like the shareholder of a company, not expecting, not demanding accountability, not providing that level of input, resourcefulness, and all the other stuff that gives us that return on investment?
Absolutely. I think that, there's this saying, and I don't know where it comes from, and it angers me, where they say you get the government you deserve. But in a sense, yes. Yeah. Because I think that the voters do set the tone based on how you act and based on what you, I wouldn't mention the country, but an economist in another country, that's a friend of mine, and she entered politics, and after a couple of years we sat and had dinner, and I said, so what about this journey has surprised you? And she said, what surprised me? I never expected as an MP that somebody's going to call me on a Sunday morning and say, my fridge is broken, when can you send me another fridge? She said, I thought I was here to make my country better by implementing policies and taking steps that would make a difference, I didn't realize that this is what people... So, of course, she inherited an expectation. But how do we change that? How do we change it from getting a phone call on a Sunday morning, my fridge is broken, when can you send me a new one, versus somebody calling you on a Sunday morning saying, I noticed that we're not giving any licenses out for solar generation. Why is it that in a country where we have sunshine 365 days a year, we're not doing more? It's a failing on our part to not do that. That's not the kind of question that her electorate is asking her. So yes, it does start with us.
So with that, and this is where I'm hoping that as we have these discussions, they go beyond here and talk today, beyond our dinner tables, or as we sit for breakfast with our friends, and we start to. The US, I think, is going to an election in short order for their president. The UK is due for one.
Yeah, globally, this is going to be the biggest election year in a long, long time. Yeah. Globally. Next year will be the biggest election year in the Caribbean that we've seen in a very long time, including my country and your country.
Yeah. and this is where I think that, I don't know about anybody else, but being able as a child to sit and to listen to the big people talk about politics, local and international politics, was fascinating. You get to learn things, and at some point discussion got to, okay, this is big people talk now, and you found your way hidden out of sight, hopefully, until you were caught. But I say that we seem to like politics in this region and in this country, but it's not sufficient that we're just talking. Are we holding each other accountable?
To account, yeah.
Are we demanding that we don't, whether deliberately or inadvertently, create garrison communities? We don't inherit expectations that not only is the politician going to send you that fridge on a Sunday morning, but it's going to come and install it and make sure the electricity is paid, and the government must and the government should. Now, that is not, at least not the ethos that I see in my household. It's not one I thought existed in my country, but is one that's becoming increasingly not only accepted but expected. Can we change that?
Well, I have a whole philosophical idea around how we can change that. So, when the Caribbean was populated by Europeans hundreds of years ago, what was created was extractive economies, extractive societies, I should say, meaning that these were not settler colonies the way the US was a settler colony. You did not have people arriving in droves to just come and live here and put down roots and for generations live here. Everybody came here to work in sugar, in the case of Trinidad and Tobago in oil, extract what you could and send it back to Europe, right? So our very institutional framework in the Caribbean is extractive. And then we had the whole independence movement really in the 60s and 70s. And what I think should have happened in the post-independence era is that we should have had very, very deep constitutional and institutional reform that then changed that extractive bias towards more of nation building and settlement here of the people who are here, who remained here in the Caribbean. And we didn't do that. They say Massa they done, but we still kept everything that Massa left, right? And so who is it really serving? Then it became an issue of not extractive to send back to Europe, but extractive in the sense that somebody benefits from it in a populist way. The people who call and say my fridge is broken, they're the ones who benefit. But then you also have, from a corruption perspective, people who are, the perpetrators and the beneficiaries of corruption. They're the ones who benefit. So the extraction remains. So I think that we need very deep constitutional and institutional reform in this region. And the only country that I have seen in this region that has engaged in the past 10, 12 years in significant institutional reform and institutional building is Jamaica. And they did it in the context of a sovereign default in 2012, I think it was, and debt restructure that then meant you had to restructure so many things to make sure you didn't end back up here again. And so it became, part of the IMF program was, supported by the IMF, the World Bank, the IDB, the CDB in terms of financial and technical assistance. And they've done the homework and the institutional reform, including to their central bank, their labor market, their, you name it, their tax authority, everything. So that they are now more fit for purpose 12 years later than they were 12 years ago. And who would have thought that Jamaica would be the country in this region that has, I would say, made so much progress in the last decade or so. They have the lowest poverty level they've ever had, even before COVID. The lowest unemployment level they've ever had, and the kinds of progress. I mean, I'm not saying Jamaica is by any means there's no problems, and of course they have problems. We all do. But the kinds of progress that they've made, remarkable.
I like how you use the phrase, sovereign default. And looking at where they have come. She's either looking for the birds on the trees. We got to take a break, Miss Marla.
We have to take a break. No problem.
No problem? Okay. Please join us after. Stay tuned.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet. Because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. And I got find my way to Barbados. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana, plus Barbados. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman.
This Mother's Day, Digicel wants to take you to brunch. We're giving away brunch vouchers for you and mom to enjoy a delightful feast together. Winning is easy. Simply activate the postpaid Supreme plan or the 30-day Prime Max plan, and you could be our lucky winner. Don't let the chance to treat mom to a special day out slip away. Visit your nearest Digicel store today or hop onto the My Digicel app for your shot at winning. Make this Mother's Day a memorable one with Digicel.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And of course, we invite you to listen, but certainly share if you want to ask a question. 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp message or WhatsApp call at 925-32621 as we're speaking to Ms. Marla Dukharan. I'm hoping that your presence does a number of things. One, encourage us as a populace to critique, but also to champion certain things and to look inward individually, but also within our own society and demand excellence from accountability and responsibility of government, but the private sector. But I wondered if I might, unless you wish to jump in, I want to go back to something you said about the extractive nature of how the Caribbean, and I was liking the sort of unfolding awareness of the Cayman Islands and its history, and recognizing that as oral as it is, there's still much that has been said and passed down that is accurate. More and more that we record things, a story may be filled in or sometimes rewritten. But like in the land grants that were said to have been given to the early settlers in the Cayman Islands, to the U.S., and then the extractive nature. We know Crimble and the likes came, took the hardwoods, and then as now with developers coming in, whether it's the 7 Mile Beach or what have you. But in that intervening period, the Caymanian resilience, resolve, and the like sort of created a society that looked inward. It took a sense of ownership and had that investment. Today's language of nation building was evident then, but today we pay lip service with transient, a word that maybe 2 decades in the making for us. So where and how have we gone astray from that initial days of the decades and generations of Caymanians having ownership physically, investing in their people, our parents, creating a society and an economy that benefits their children, to now where our children are saying, well, I don't know if I have a home. I'm like a guest in my country. I can't own land. I can't afford it. With education, I can't find employment. Are we at the odds of a socio sort of political unrest?
I think unrest is a strong word.
Oh,
yeah.
And I use it deliberately because I don't want it to be. But
no, I don't know that you are at that point. I don't know how to answer your question, Stirling, because I feel like I don't know enough about to say how did it happen. I don't feel like I know enough about Cayman's history and story and culture to answer adequately. Sorry.
No, but this is the honest thing. And thank you for that, right? Yeah. And I recognize that, as I said earlier, I won't take too much license, but too many of us comment extemporaneously and have little to add. I see why Charlie has engaged you. He speaks highly, and it's evident. Your intellect acumen speaks to an ethos of integrity. Maybe the other thing I was hoping that we who are listening would now take away, this time to speak the truth. What we're seeing globally unfold is impacting us locally. What we're doing regionally may not serve to integrate us, whether it's introduction of central bank digital currencies, whether it's the imposition of travel restrictions within the EU and its non-member states. How are we getting to that space now where it comes back to ownership, accountability, a semblance of the investment here creates a greater return, not just from the dollar to dollar, but at the societal impact?
That's a lot. I mean, I just want to touch on one thing you talked about, and that's accountability. And more and more I'm seeing in the region we're having a real challenge with accountability and not just on a level of the government, but in the private sector and individuals as well. And I think that if you hold people to account, it's when they deliver what they're supposed to deliver. And one of the things, and I touched on Jamaica earlier, Jamaica has something called the Economic Policy Oversight Committee that's chaired and led by Keith Duncan, who also is the CEO of JMMB Bank. And what this EPOC, this Economic Policy Oversight Committee, does is, if the government says, I'm going to do this for the next year, this is my budget, and these are the projects I'm going to engage in, and this is my plan for the next year. This EPOC, on a quarterly basis, collects data from the government and says to the people, literally on this rum shop corner, this is what the government said they were going to do, and this is what they've done, and this is what they haven't done, and this is why. And they've taken that accountability to the very grassroots in Jamaica, the epoch. And I think that that's one of the most important factors and catalysts for the progress that you've seen in Jamaica in the past 10 years. And I think every country needs an economic policy or socio-economic policy oversight committee that consists of people not just chaired by and consists of people not just from the public sector, but also private sector, civil society, the church, the opposition. And so you have people who come together and say, we're going to hold our government to account for doing what it says it's going to do on a regular basis. And they have created a culture of accountability in Jamaica that nobody else has in the region. And like I said, I think it's one of the things that made the biggest difference for them.
And this is where I think if we, like a company, can benchmark whether it's customer service or manufacturing process. But even as a country, look at what
other countries are doing.
Yeah, it'll benefit us.
Of
And
course.
I see how easy it is for us to be divided. But we need to find a way that unifies us. No matter who we are more alike than we are different. Yet it's the differences that we identify and we allow to be at the fore.
Hence the breakup of the West Indies Federation. But anyhow, that's a whole other
you're a champion
conversation.
for that. But even to that, to what extent are we talking about Caribbean history from that perspective? We probably can remember the British Navigational Acts, if you think of our history. But do we understand the socio-economic and political implications of things done then that are still being impacted us now?
Mm-hmm.
And as you go into this news break, as Ms. Susan reminds us, maybe data from Transparency International relative to corruption that looks at not just the public sector, but how our private sector entities influencing, navigating, extracting. We can't point fingers only one direction, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Can we get a few more minutes of your time after the review?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm here.
I want to ask about one thing in your report, if I might.
Yeah.
Again, I said it was a public document as it is now, right? And we talked about, some of the training, and we see a graphic. It's a graph. I have to be careful. That shows the Caymanian versus non-Caymanian, sort of educational level. Can we touch on it?
Absolutely.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirkmarket.
A big day for the newest offering on 7 Mile Beach as the thatch rope ribbon cutting today at Hotel Indigo Cayman brought government officials and members of the community out to see the 10-story boutique hotel this morning. The Indigo features 282 guest rooms, multiple restaurants, and a 6,700-foot square ballroom. In international headlines, the family of a black U.S. Air Force airman who was fatally shot by deputies who burst into his apartment in the Florida Panhandle said today that they want to correct a false narrative put forth by authorities about the encounter that led to his death. The family of senior airman Roger Fortson plan to view a body camera video later today. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who is representing the family, said Fortson did not know it was sheriff's deputies who were breaking into his apartment, his, quote, castle, and that he grabbed his legally owned firearm to protect himself. The U.S. is warning that Israel will be dealing a strategic victory to Hamas if it carries through with plans for an all-out assault on Rafah. The city is the last major militant stronghold in Gaza. The warning was backed by a fresh threat from U.S. President Joe Biden. He says he will pause more offensive military assistance to Israel if it goes through with the operation in a city where more than 1 million civilians are sheltering. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
At Kirk Market, it's so easy to eat well and find healthy options. With their fresh veggies from local farmers, hormone-free chicken, local seafood, and grass-fed meats, Kirk Market has delicious, quality food at the best prices. And you must check out their fresh salad bar, hot bar, and med bar for daily healthy options on the go. Their delicious dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients such as prime meats and organic veggies. Eating great is important to me. That's why Kirk Market is my store. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and shop happy.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. Again, the phone lines are available if you want to call, and we invite you to do so. 949-8037, 949-6990, or WhatsApp message, call, voice note at 925-3261. Or speaking to that, if she doesn't mind me saying, not just noted and celebrated, but deservedly so. The acumen and intellect of economist Marla Dukharan. You do the Caribbean proud. And I think sometimes we don't see, even in our own families or our own communities or our own countries, the resource that we have. And then if we expand it to the region, we always think something is better elsewhere. And so people like you do a region proud. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Stilling. And it's a pleasure. It's always. And if I can help make a difference somehow, somewhere, then it's all worth it.
It's kind of like what Charlie had said earlier, that in your sort of willingness to undertake their reports, you're saying, I'm going to give you, I think he phrased warts and all.
Yes, warts and all. Yeah. Whatever you find, we want to see it.
Which is important.
Of course.
You don't want to go to your doctor and the doctor she tells you, hey, everything's looking good, and then she ignores the thing that might be or is. You want to know all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I asked during the break if we could look at one of the things that you touched on.
Yeah.
And I appreciate not only the big font, the color, and your graphs, so it makes it easier. And this is the section that talks about educational attainment and looks at the Caymanian versus the non-Caymanian within the sector. Post-secondary, high school, and below high school.
Mm-hmm.
We have a call, Ms. Susan? Let's give our callers
Sure.
reference, and then maybe we can ask and expound on why I thought that was something to consider. Ms. Marla Dukharan is our guest. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Dwayne, and the esteemed economist from Sweet T&T.
Good afternoon.
My brother, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, fine, thanks. Yeah, I'm just calling about the corruption, really. I think it was 2008 when we enacted our anti-corruption act here, legislation, and I was wondering if the Ms. Dukharan could say whether there's any work being done to address corruption in the private sector, because the emphasis all along in a lot of places is on the public sector.
So, it's a good question. Transparency International measures the Corruption Perceptions Index. I don't think Cayman appears on the index, like most indices, because you're an overseas territory. Now, when you talk about corruption, it basically means the abuse of power. And usually on both sides of the transaction, you have different entities. You usually have a public sector entity and a private sector entity. So I'm not sure if that's the lens through which you're asking me to comment on corruption in the private sector. But I do agree with you that, there is a problem where you have, especially in small societies, a lot of closeness and overlapping. You have even things like overlapping directorships in the private sector, and a lot of overlapping between public sector and private sector. People who work in banks and then go to work for the regulator and then go back, and you have that revolving door problem. You do have pockets through which this kind of abuse of power can be evident, and it is something that that I don't think we legislate sufficiently and enforce sufficiently for in the region. One of the things that people don't often think of is the role that inequality has played. And when I say inequality, income inequality and wealth inequality has played in the whole corruption space. And perhaps it's not even, and of course these things it depends on how you define it. When you have inequality that is, and we have inequality globally that is at a level we have never seen before, and every year it gets worse. What that means is that you have so much power concentrated in the hands of so few. And even if that power is not abused in terms of the definition of corruption, what you do have is undue influence that can be exerted more and more by the few. And I think in the Caribbean, we definitely have that problem. Have we legislated sufficiently and can we enforce sufficiently in terms of curbing it and punishing it? No, I don't think we do. And I think that inequality problem and the nexus between inequality and corruption is something that we are not fully cognizant of. And I think that we need, from a policy perspective, to look at how do we address the inequality problem as well as the corruption problem, because one feeds into the next.
Does that help, sir?
Yeah, well, it helps to a degree because, you do hear these horror stories. I heard one the other day about, a professional who has possibly abused their power in a subdivision, and I won't go into the details, but there are also quasi public bodies who have been accused of corruption and in the past and so forth, and they could be seen as private sector, but then they have a public interface, if you like, and so hence my question. We hear about these under the table kickbacks in not only the public sector but the private sector, and
well, if I could,
so that's why I raised the question.
No, I appreciate it. Let me then ask, if you're willing to engage two things, recognizing how we sort of see corruption. How would you define it? What's your perspective on it? How do you see corruption? What entails corruption to you?
Well, what they say, if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't smell right, if it doesn't taste right, well, there's something wrong with it, right?
Okay. So then, with that, what do we then do about it? Because, well, let me then ask, if that is the perception that these things are happening, whether by design or default, what do we do about it?
Well, this is why I posed the original question, my dear friend, that whether our esteemed economist has heard of any work being done elsewhere. But it's to me, it's a looming question.
So let's reference Singapore then, right? The perception that Singapore has, public or private, if you do something, as you said, doesn't look right, smell right, taste right, doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be sanctioned. Do you think we have that ethos here? Are we willing to enforce it, pass legislation, and ensure that becomes inculcated?
Well, that's a loaded question. But, that's a very loaded question. I'm not a politician either. I want to make it clear. But, but at the same time, I have vested interest here.
Right.
Children, grandchildren, etc. And, you have to say, well, if these things are going on, what's the long-term outcome for the society we live in, and they will live in, more important.
I think one of the things, if I might respond to you and your question of what's being done, I think one of the things that I am seeing increasingly within the region and globally is whistleblowers coming forward. Whistleblowers not just in the public sector but in the private sector. Just last night I was looking at a Netflix movie. I can't remember the name now. It's about this pharma company that, and they were bribing doctors to write prescriptions for their fentanyl, basically. And it was because of a whistleblower internally who ended up serving time anyway, but she came forward and revealed to the authorities what was happening. And you're finding more and more countries putting in whistleblower legislation, and more and more companies rolling out whistleblower policies to protect whistleblowers from any kind of retribution if they come forward and reveal wrongdoing. So that is one thing that I'm seeing happening globally, and I think that's a positive move. In my own country, we have a very, I would say, significant and historically significant case where, the largest or one of the largest conglomerates in the region is having a challenge now because of this whistleblower coming forward and talking about some wrongdoings. And this is a publicly traded company, regional company. And we've never had this kind of thing happen in Trinidad before. And so, yes, that's the one thing I would say is positive that I'm seeing that can help us with this corruption that exists.
All right, so
I think Professor Sterling, that you got your question answered. that we need to have an act that
protects whistleblowers.
Protects whistleblowers, not only in the private sector, public sector, but also in the private sector.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. All right.
And with the caveat that it cannot be frivolous or vexatious in any way.
Indeed.
Otherwise, the onus would be back on the whistleblower.
Well, we see the U.S. has legislation, from what I understand, that wouldn't want to say incentivizes, but certainly compensates the whistleblower, recognizing that potentially that whistleblower may find employment opportunities difficult following
hardship.
that.
Yeah, it'll find hardship. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe we'll wrap again another time, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.
All the best.
All the best. I believe we have 2 calls, and then we have a break first. When we come back, we'll take the calls. Stay tuned.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
This Mother's Day, Digicel wants to take you to brunch. We're giving away brunch vouchers for you and mom to enjoy a delightful feast together. Winning is easy. Simply activate the postpaid Supreme plan or the 30-day Prime Max plan, and you could be our lucky winner. Don't let the chance to treat mom to a special day out slip away. Visit your nearest Digicel store today or hop onto the My Digicel app for your shot at winning. Make this Mother's Day a memorable one with Digicel.
The public consultation period for Cayman's new national health strategy is currently underway. Follow the Ministry of Health and Wellness on Facebook for information on upcoming town hall meetings, radio appearances, and other ways to tell us what you think. Email your comments to mohfeedback@gov.ky or log on to gov.ky/health-wellness to complete the survey. Your voice matters, Cayman.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Our climate is changing, and so is Cayman. Stronger and more frequent hurricanes, longer periods of drought, sea level rise, and higher temperatures are already impacting our communities. If we take nature into account before we act, we can harness nature's benefits and reduce the devastation caused by natural disasters. Because when we put nature front and center, nature can provide the solutions.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thank you very, very much for joining us, and to Miss Marla Dukharan for allowing us to share with her, and through her, maybe not just be encouraged and inspired, but educated and informed. We do have a couple of callers online. I think Susan would take us left or right. Which way are we going first? Let's take the first call on the regular line. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes, mi amigo. ¿Qué tal?
Okay.
Come on, man. I thought you were calling from West Bay. How are you?
Yeah, man. Okay, man.
All right, listen. Thank you for listening, man. Hope all is well today.
Okay. Good afternoon to you, guys, too.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, not too long ago, I would say probably about 2 years ago, or could be probably a little bit longer, but the Auditor General made a report in the newspaper, and she said that all the concessions that have been given away by the government or governments, the Caymanians have nothing to show for it. And one of the rules when it comes to the concessions is that 60% of the workforce doing this construction on these projects, 60% of the workforce should be Caymanians. But if the government doesn't provide the trade schools that I would say we need in every district, and on every I would say in Cayman Brac also, then we will not be able to provide 60% of the workforce if that doesn't happen. And right now, Cayman doesn't even have one professional trade school. And over the last 20 to 25 years, I know the government must have given away almost $2 billion worth of concessions already. Mm-hmm. And I was told by a gentleman or gentleman a few weeks ago that there are 170 of them on the construction site where they're working. And they're all on work permits. And I was told by them that their employer is making them pay for all their health insurance when their employer is supposed to pay half.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is 170 of them on a job site, and just say if the employer is making them pay the whole thing, and it's just $85 a month each that the employer is taking away from them to pay for the whole of the health insurance, that's $177,000 a year. And these subcontractors are paid enough to pay for half of everyone's health insurance. And I know this is not just happening on one job site. This is happening on a lot of job sites here on this island, or islands.
But again, that's enforcement, right? And perhaps employers, employees, or the wider community that make those allegations need to do so to work or the DLP or the respective entity so that they are aware. Now, I know you have championed inspections, but again, maybe like an audit, you want to know what you're testing for, and you want to be assigning your resources to spaces where you can see the most meaningful outcome.
Well, when government hears about these kind of things going on, what the government needs to do is send the Labor Department and Immigration at these job sites.
Right. Now, the last time you had reference that I asked you if you were feeling led to make that report to DLP and work, do you think we could encourage you to formally do that? You say it publicly now, perhaps just a anonymous tip might even suffice.
Well, Dwayne, I'm doing a lot right here now. I'm pretty sure the government or someone in the government has already heard me speak about this or has heard about me speaking about it. So I think it's their responsibility to check into these things and send the Labor Board Department, the Immigration Department to these job sites and check out and see if these things, if what I'm speaking of is the truth, because these gentlemen are afraid to go to the government individually because they're afraid to lose their work permit.
I hear you, man. I mean, maybe keep, banging that gong. It might resonate in some quarters. Before we take the next call, we don't want to dismiss you, but anything else you want to share?
Well, Dwayne, I think this is one reason they don't want to hire Caymanians. And this is one reason we don't have the trade schools. It's not only stealing, it's against the law, and I think corruption is involved here. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Respectful, Marla, can we take the next call?
Absolutely.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Mr. Dwayne.
Oi, what's up, man?
What's up?
Hope you're good today, guy.
I tell you what's up. The sun is up.
Yeah, that's a good start.
It's hot. It's hot. And for you not to have health insurance or whatever in this type of weather, that kind of sad. Enough respect to the guests, and to you, Mr. Dwayne, and everybody in it. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
But isn't there a clause somewhere that the Cayman Islands has that you're not allowed to say anything bad about the Cayman Islands or mention the Cayman Islands in certain aspects? Not true?
If you find it, show it to me.
Yeah, I believe so, man, because I believe, say, somebody on an international news program went on and said something bad, and then Cayman Islands was quick to respond and tell him, say, no, you better don't say that. So I think I had my own evidence of that. But now, when it comes to this corruption, you can hear everybody blatantly saying, yeah, we know the corruption going on, and you hear him saying, oh, I can't do nothing about it. It better the government do something about it. But the government is a part of the corruption. And as we saying, we all afraid to be a whistleblower around here because you're not getting nowhere because it's easy to cover you up and get rid of you, like kind of bury you in the social aspect of how Cayman life is. And that's very serious. Corruption is a very serious thing, and corruption corrupts absolutely. So when it comes to now who we are asked about the government, I think, say, honest to God, and no disrespect, Mr. Dwayne, but I believe we got stop calling the radio show. And we got to call England, and we got to tell them, say, look, we want direct rule to come in here, and we want to get rid of all of these corrupt politicians and corrupt people that is stopped. Because that is a part of corruption. If you stop in the trade school from getting built so that you can stop people or you can give people an excuse to not hire Caymanians, as it is a part of corruption, right? Now, what we can do about it, like what they say, is nothing really we can do about it, because we gonna get disciplined by these people here in government, or if not, we get disciplined from somebody in the church. Not saying that they will, and I just telling you, is like they all go to church together. I know that. This is where they get all the votes from, the church.
So
you got to tell me not no lie.
Yeah, man. You're saying we sort of self-censor based on a perception that we may be censored. All right, man. You always put good things on the table. I recognize the seconds remaining. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no. Let's stop playing around and let's go into direct rule. Let's call direct England to come over here and do complete investigations of the whole shebang. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, man. Maybe that's a show for another time, and I'll do open line and ask people. Independence, direct. No. But thank you very much. And this is where I believe increasingly people feel empowered and encouraged to share when they hear others who are willing to question. And if democracy is truly healthy, then we must be able to question as we can champion. We must be able to critique as we can, complain, but also celebrate. Always welcome, your time with us. And if it was another hour, I'm sure we could even spend 2 more. But I will be respectful of your time. What else would you like to share in the remaining minutes of today's program?
Well, the last 2 callers touched on something that perhaps is related to local content legislation, yes? And whether or not we have enforcement or adherence to the legislation as it relates to how much employment should be given to Caymanians versus non-Caymanians in businesses. But then somebody mentioned there's no trade school. I think there is a hospitality one, if memory serves me correct. Yeah. Yes? No?
Yeah.
There is. Okay. But I just want to highlight a statistic because Guyana recently, I think maybe 2 years ago, implemented their local content legislation. We have local content legislation in Trinidad as well, particularly as it relates to the oil and gas sector. But I guess what the callers were saying is that you have to have people to fill the roles. Something that I highlighted in a report I wrote not long ago, that only 27% of students in government primary schools and 37.5% at government secondary schools are achieving the expected standards in their education. That's the problem. You can have any amount of local content legislation, but if you don't have skilled workers who can fill the posts sufficiently coming out of school, and I'm based on conversations I had with people, what I understand is that even in the public schools, the non-Caymanians perform better even in the public schools, and the reverse is true in the private schools. So we have a challenge with education here, and that's one of the fundamental things as a nation. If you're engaging in nation building and human development, that's one of the most fundamental things you have to address. Education and health are the 2 most fundamental things. We have to get that right.
I'm so glad you say that, because now I can feel vindicated and validated that when I say education and healthcare are your pillars, I don't feel it's a political statement. But those are true.
It is.
Your gold, your diamonds, your oil matters not if your people are not healthy and educated. In closing, I reference what you shared in the CEC report in terms of its employment. Not only this knowledge-based transfer, of skill sets, but the pay, and then the proportion of people who are earning, where are the Caymanians with those skill sets. So if we don't invest, and if that statistic doesn't cause many of us to have some unsettled, sleepless nights, we never get the answer in a 4-year election cycle. It may take a generation or 2. But we will see the negative. All right. The best time to start planting a tree was,
20 years ago and today.
Ms. Marla, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Well, igualmente. All right, Ms. Susan, thank you. Can we request in a song by Billy Joel, Ms. Susan? If it's Billy Joel, it's going to be good. Dada Diamond Rio, from country, I invite you tomorrow. It's Friday already. Come tomorrow. Please join me start for the record with a full day for talk today right afterwards. So join you and invite you to have a wonderful, safe, blessed, and productive afternoon. Get the CEC report. You can look at marladukharan.com or go to the CEC website. Until tomorrow.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
If they are talking about us,
living in your head rent-free all this time,
we must be relevant. Radio Cayman since